It's officially 2025. The first Elijah Craig Barrel Proof of 2025 is here in the A125. Now the stats of this one may not be what folks want, but stats aren't always everything. Let's see if the A125 from Elijah Craig Barrel Proof kicks off 2025 on the right foot. Let's review it. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C, and welcome back to the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. Like, subscribe, and help me keep climbing to 100,000 subscribers here in 2025. All right, so by this point, you guys know the deal. Starting with the second batch of the year in 2023, Heaven Hill announced they were removing the 12-year age statement in favor of an age statement that would fluctuate batch to batch. Now, since that point, we have had batches as young as 10 years, 9 months, and as old as 13 years, 7 months, which takes us to the A125. Now, the specs of this batch are interesting and stand out in a couple of ways. Now, since dropping the age statement, this is officially the youngest age statement that we've seen on the label at 10 years and 7 months. This is also tied for the lowest proof ever for an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof at 59.1% ABV or 118.2 proof. The last time we saw this proof, this bottle, in B521. As always, this is non-chill filtered, it's uncut, and it's priced for an SRP of $74.99. All right, let's dive in. All right, let's dive in. I know the stats are probably disappointing for some, but sometimes stats isn't everything. Let's find out. Here we go. So the first thing that jumps out is the nose is actually kind of muted. So I think that lower proof point is, it's not giving you like that big punch of a flavor that you normally get from an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, unfortunately. And it opens up a little bit. This has been poured a couple times. I also left the bottle open overnight just to get some oxidation, open it up a bit. So it's gonna sound weird, but it actually smells a little bit like a Booker's from Jim Beam. So I feel like you get kind of this honey roasted peanut type vibe. I mean, Heaven Hill is known for having a little bit of that nuttiness as well, just like Jim Beam. A little bit of a different type of nuttiness, but you know, same kind of thing. Caramels, vanillas are there, some brown sugar. Also getting a little bit of a hint of a bubblegum note, which is a note I don't get too often. Also a little bit of a sweet oak vibe, not super dense, not super overly oaky either. It doesn't come off like a super aged whiskey. It actually does come off on kind of the younger side, to be honest. Yeah, that nuttiness is really surprising. There could be a little bit of a hint of a milk chocolate here as well, but I think that nuttiness factor is probably the most surprising, just how forward it is. All right, let's give it a try. On the palate, it actually comes off a little bit herbal. You get a little bit of a black tea type note on here. There's some good spice, but a lot of the sweetness and the oak that I'm used to with ECBP quite isn't to the forefront yet. Once you get into the second sip, this is really easy sipping. You know, for an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, even at 118, it's got a nice sneaky spice to it, especially on the back end. It doesn't drink hot by any means, but at the same time, it does carry a nice, almost like a cinnamon red hot spice on the back end of it. Not really getting a lot of baking spice, but cinnamon red hot is something that's definitely there. Yeah, the nuttiness, the caramel, the vanillas, all kind of intertwining here. Your usual kind of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Heaven Hill notes. But again, nothing here is, you know, kind of making me go, wow, unfortunately. So there is a decent amount of oak here the more you sip this. However, it doesn't get into some of those really rich, older oaky notes that you would find in some of the older Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs. The oak is there, definitely lets you know that there's some age here, but it's not really taking me anywhere that I feel is that makes this batch special. Again, your typical caramels, vanillas, a little bit of toffee, little hint of chocolate, a lot of spice on the back end. That nuttiness just carries through. It's almost a little bit like a glazed pecan, something like that, just something a little sweet and nutty at the same time. It's good, it's a solid batch, but I'm actually really curious to compare it to the B521, so let's do that. All right, so we have the B521, that is also 118.2 proof. Again, these are the two lowest proof bottled Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs ever. So let's pour this one. Now this is when it had a 12-year age statement. Let's see what the differences are here. You know what, I gotta say there is quite a difference, and it really stems from that oakier profile that you get in the 12-year. This one definitely more has a little bit of an oakier funk to it when it comes to the B521. Then you compare it to the A125. And the A125, it's just brighter. It's brighter, it's sweeter, not as much oak. Again, a little bit leaning more on the caramels, the vanillas, some of the toffee notes, the brown sugars that you normally get in Elijah Craig. All right, let's try the B521. It might be since 21 that I've had this. Big difference. There's a lot more going on in the B521. You know, and I hate to say that because, you know, I feel like there's this thing out there about Elijah Craig, barrel proof especially, kind of losing a lot of quality, losing a lot of that, you know, those flavor profiles that we all love so much, especially in the older batches. And when you're going proof versus proof, the same proof, there's some big differences here when you're kind of comparing the age statements. This B521, I think actually drinks easier than the A125. Now granted, the B520 has been open, obviously, for a couple years here, actually a few years, versus the A125, which still has a lot of spice, still has a lot of that, especially that kick on the back end, even at 118 proof. But the B521 has a richer oak profile, a little bit of a deeper, almost toffee oak chocolate experience. I'm getting hints of that in the A125, but not as much as I'm getting here. And this is the youngest age statement we've ever seen on Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I mean, all the rest of them have been 12 years, and this is the youngest one since the label change. So 10 years, 7 months. Now again, 10 years, 7 months is the youngest bourbon in the blend. Again, it's a small batch product, so I'm sure there's some older barrels in here. We just don't know what those are. Again, it's sweet, it's spicy. It leans a little bit more, I think, on the sweet and spice rather than the oak and the deep, rich notes that we're finding here in the B521. All right, last sip of each. Yeah, the B521 just has this richer, dense oak note to it that balances the sweet out. And I just don't think the A125 has that. Yeah, the A125 to me is coming off like a little bit of a Booker's bourbon now, at least this batch. And I think for anyone who tries it and then compares it to, you know, a pretty, not like the really heavy peanut funk Booker's, but just kind of like a sweet, even keel Booker's. Kind of like a, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like if you compare it to maybe the Beam House batch from last year, something along those lines, where it's got some good brown sugar, some good sweetness, good spice. I think that type of Booker's would kind of fall in line with this. All right, let me think about this. We'll do a quick final breakdown. All right, final breakdown on the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A125. SRP for this one is $74.99. Resale market value, haven't seen these on the resale market yet, and generally these don't get marked up unless the batch is considered really special. Availability for these are usually limited, but I feel like that could be shifting again. We're in 2025, the market's a little bit different, people are buying less, so the availability on here could be a little bit more below average rather than limited. When it comes to value for these, the value has definitely shifted. I mean, you drop an age statement, the price creeps up about $10. So now we're looking, instead of a high value, we're looking at an above average value. For this bottle in particular, I would probably even go as far to say it's even. There's nothing in this bottle that's wowing me to be like, oh my God, this is such a great value for what you're getting for the price. For most I'd pay this particular bottle, nobody should pay a cent over $74.99, which is the, you know, the SRP. If it's marked higher than that, walk away. If it's marked lower than that, great. But $74.99 should be the maximum that anyone should pay for this bottle. As far as alternatives for this one, again, it's kind of the same old, maybe with a couple of new additions here. Obviously, you have Wild Turkey Rare Breed, which is only 2 proof points below where this one is at. I also think Knob Creek 12 could be a good viable option for this, even though that's 100 proof, this is 118. Yes, you're losing 18 proof points, but I do think Knob Creek 12 has the type of flavor profile that could actually go against this batch in particular. And finally, is this a skip, a try before you buy, or a buy and back it up? I think with the amount of Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs that hit each and every year, 3 times a year we get these. We get the A batch, the B batch, and the C batch. This one I think should be a try before you buy. I think if people try this one, make your own decision on it. I think some people will really like it. I think the 118 proof makes it a little bit easier to drink. It's a little bit softer. However, the flavors and the complexity that I like in Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, for whatever reason, just isn't here in this batch in the A125. So all those things together, make it a decent batch. I don't think it's a great batch, and I don't think it's one that you're gonna have to run out and buy, especially when we have a B and C batch to find out if those could probably surpass this one. All right, guys, well, hope you enjoyed this review right here for the Logitech Barrel-Proof A125. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button below. Please hit that like button, and if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the stats. Does it already kind of turn you off that it's a little bit of a lower proof and also a lower age statement? Always love hearing from you guys, and as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here for another great episode on the Mash and Drum. Cheers, folks.